Hey, folks, in this interview, I'm sitting down with one of the Peak Design Grant recipients. His name is Justin Sisson. We're going to talk about his love of photography, what he's going to do with the grant, and what's next. This is TWIP. All right, folks, welcome back to another episode of This Week in Photo. Today on the program, I have the honor of sitting down with one of the recipients of Peak Design's first grant for Black photographers. They made the announcement last week, which I was privileged to host. And I have one of the grant recipients on the line to talk about how he feels about receiving that grant, what he's going to do with it, and, you know, kind of what got him started in photography. Justin Sisson we talked about this. Justin Sisson is on the show to talk about photography and the grant. Welcome, Justin. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. I'm jealous. Congratulations on getting a mountain of gear from Peak Design. Before we dive into that grant, though, let's talk a little bit about you. Get your origin story. Who is Justin Sisson, and what drives you to be interested in telling stories through imagery?
Well, I'm originally from the West Coast. I live in New York now. I'm in Brooklyn. And prior to coming here, I was, born in Long Beach, California. I spent a lot of my younger years there, and then moved to Phoenix, Arizona for a bit. And in Arizona, that's when I kind of started first getting into visual arts. My brother worked in fashion, and I did a lot of things with him from the beginning. And sometimes we would just take photos for what we needed done. And that's kind of the first time that I picked up a camera, and then I just started photographing things that were around me, and I just kind of took out from there. But I guess I was taking photos before I even really knew what photography really was. It was just something that was a need base that I was doing to help my brother and support what he was already doing.
Wow. That's cool. And that's interesting. That's a common kind of origin story we hear from people that are getting into photography. But then once you're in, it's kind of a runaway train, and it's an expensive runaway train in terms of gear and software and lenses and all this other crazy stuff. Let's talk about the world of Justin pre-grant, and then what the world looks like post-grant, once you receive the bag of goodies and all that. So what was your situation regarding, just photography and not being able to do what you wanted to do based on the gear that you had available to you before the grant?
Yeah. So I think one of the things that people don't talk about just is how expensive photography is. And you never have it all. You never have enough. There's always something, and especially the way the technology moves in 2020, there's new things coming out every week. So it definitely is hard to, keep up with things. And, especially right now with the things that are going on in the world. I had a Fuji system that I, ultimately had to let go. And that's kind of right around the time when this grant information that came to me. A friend had sent it my way and recommended that I, check this opportunity out. And luckily for myself, as soon as it came out, I had just threw my name into the pot, and I didn't really know what to expect. I didn't actually expect anything. I just thought I just sold some gear and I'm going to need some new stuff. And I was like, this is, worth putting my name out there and trying. And, here we are.
Yeah. Like we were saying before we started recording, you are 100% likely to fail at things that you don't try at, right?
For sure. Yeah. And it was really interesting to hear how many applicants applied. I think if I had known that number, I might have also been even intimidated by that figure as well. I had no idea. I was already using a couple of the Peak Design straps, and so I was like, well, I like the product, for sure. The straps are great. And yeah, I just like I said, just threw my name into the hat, and yeah, I'm happy to be here.
Right. Were you on the live stream when we did the announcement?
Yeah. It was pretty surreal. And actually, I was watching the whole stream, and I had actually went up to get some water real quick, but I had my phone on me, and I started getting direct messages from some of my good friends, and I couldn't believe it. So I had to run back, and I caught the end. And then as soon as the feed went up, I was like, I wanted to, like, I was catching it, but I wanted to see it with my own eyes when they came up and pulled the screen. So it was pretty surreal. Even now, it's pretty insane, honestly.
Yeah, isn't that crazy how things can just change like that? Because it's, and I'm one of those people that never wins anything. I could
Same.
apply for something or try. I'm like, I'm not going to win this, but let's just give it a shot. But
Yeah.
wow,
Same here. Same
that's
here.
yeah. Yeah. So, there's cameras in there. There's a bunch of stuff from Peak Design. There's stuff from Smug Mug,
Yeah.
One Wheel, all this stuff in there. What are your plans? Do you have anything in mind that you want to dive into once FedEx arrives?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, definitely, I'm predominantly stills, and I've been, waiting to get on to doing more like video work outside of just little clips that I make for myself. And so I feel like this is a great opportunity for me to start going down that path for sure. And honestly, one of the biggest hangups for me doing video or not having really starting to get into that space is because it is so expensive to jump into it. And usually you have like a camera that does stills and a camera that does video, but it's really hard to put the money again, especially with all of the things that are going on this year. It is really difficult to say I'm going to just go ahead and start something new, with where things are currently at, because you just don't have the same, well, at least I don't have the same amount of flexibility right now. And so this is going to give me a great start with that. And then beyond that, one of my biggest goals for 2020 was just getting organized. And so with a lot of the gear that's going to, be included in that, is going to give me a great opportunity to do just that. And again, like bags and things like that are things that are also very important parts of the overall, situation of being a photographer, is that you need to protect your gear, but those things can also get really expensive. So it's great to, have them, provide those things. And especially when I got a list of what they were providing, I felt just even more fortunate, for that. And then just everything else is just icing on the cake. And I know that there was some information for Flickr as well, which I've been like, that's a place that I spent so much time on and still do, just finding about new photographers, especially because like Instagram is really like algorithm based, I feel like, but Flickr really allows you to get in there and find new people. And actually when Flickr was doing, they had a campaign for people that they were asking the community to come together to throw money to kind of help them push forward. I was actually one of those people that put up a few dollars to support that effort as well. So I'm super happy about how everything's coming out.
Yeah, that's good. That is really good. Yeah, it's interesting. The whole photography world. And, like you said, it's not just cameras and lenses and software, but it's also the other stuff that goes along with that, right? It's
Yeah.
gear, it's tripods, it's, all that other stuff that's necessary, 100% necessary to execute on the story that you're trying to sell, which, it adds up at the end of the day. But now you got a head start on all that, everything.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Super lucky. I mean, yeah, just even going to what you said about, tripods are just like one of those things that when I first started off, I was like, I'll just buy a cheap, tripod. But then once you start shooting a lot of things, your gear is getting a little bit bigger, you have a more expensive lens on that tripod. You want to have a better tripod. So it's one of those things that even, a mid-level one's still a couple $100. So I'm also very happy about that as well.
Yeah, and I have just, I know you're getting I believe they're sending you the carbon fiber Peak Design travel tripod. I
Yeah.
have
Yeah.
that tripod and I just took it on a trip. It was
Amazing.
just on the plane with me, and I love that tripod to death. You're gonna love it. You're gonna love it.
Before I even entered, I had watched like maybe like 8 YouTube videos on the tripod itself, because I was already in the market for a tripod. And even after I submitted my information, my actual tripod broke. So I was already like, okay, now I actually have to buy one. So this has just been an incredible string of luck for myself.
Yeah, no, this is good. I'm excited to see what you're going to do with the gear, because it's you can have the mechanism, right? You can have the gear, you can have all the bits, which you have now, to tell pretty much any story that you want. Then the challenge becomes, what stories are you going to tell? Like what stories does Justin want to, present to the world, because for all intents and purposes now, even through TWIP and through Peak Design, with the gear and just putting your name out there, you got a boost,
Yeah.
on getting your name. So now that's a responsibility. What are you going to do with that responsibility? Like, do you have any ideas for what the future looks like in terms of, the kind of subject matter you want to tackle?
Yeah, so a lot of my current work is already around like food and beverage. I do a lot of like still life work, and I hope to focus, the more energy into that. And going back to the part about being creative, it's like when you have the tools that you need to actually just focus your creative energy on just doing a project as opposed to trying to make one thing work three different ways, and it just allows you to go so much further. And I actually first learned this with cooking. I always thought that I just didn't enjoy cooking. And then once I got a little bit older and I started investing money and getting better cookware, I was like, actually, just now that I have the appropriate tools to do this, this is actually fun. And so a lot of that kind of works with like, with creating as well. When you have those tools, now I can just focus on, going out there and doing a good job, or really putting my energy into telling a good story, as opposed to trying to make this one item that's not really fit for that work. And especially when we start talking about the cameras, if you have like a stills first camera, trying to get it to do video, you're spending a lot of your creative energy and time trying to make this thing work, as opposed to just having that item. So for myself, having an actual a video camera to do that just allows me to focus on the storytelling elements, and making sure that I can put the energy into that outside of just trying to, finagle something some other way.
Yeah, no, I hear you. That's absolutely, that goes for everything, right? Like if you're
Yeah.
trying to fix your car without the
Yeah.
right tools, or hang a picture without a hammer, and you're trying to use the shoe or something to hammer a nail, you're
Yeah.
only going to get so far. But when you get that hammer and the nail, boom, it's right in there. You're done.
Yeah. Exactly. Precision.
Yeah. Yep,
For sure.
exactly. So I want to give you the last word. Oh, actually, before I give you the last word, I want to get your thoughts on switching camera systems. From a photographer standpoint, you were a Fuji shooter, right? And
Yeah.
you sold your Fuji gear. Now you're going to
Yeah.
transition into being a Sony shooter. Does it matter to you that you're moving platforms, or is it just it's all f-stops and shutter speeds anyway? It doesn't matter.
I look at it like a new piece of equipment, just the same way like when I get a new film camera, it gives me a new perspective. So I'm actually more excited to see, what things that I can do. And especially with the stills first camera, I'm really interested to see, what's possible on that end. Because again, a lot of the energy is used on trying to make this work in a different way than it's really supposed to. It can do it, but it's not built for it. So with the transition for using a Sony camera, and I'd watched tons of videos on people who are already using the camera. I feel excited. The only
Yeah.
feelings or emotion I have for getting onto a new system is is the excitement of trying something new. And luckily for me, like I'm a newer photographer, so I don't have to like relearn 10 years of using one system like somebody who might switch from a Canon to a Nikon, or vice versa. This is, all of the mirrorless technology overall is still pretty new. So even those who've been shooting for a long time will be in a similar seat of just trying to learn it. But I'm excited for it.
Yeah. In the end, like I said, it's light hasn't changed for billions of years, right? So
Yeah.
it's just f-stop, shutter speeds, ISO. If you understand that, the only barrier to entry for transitioning from any camera system to another camera system is the interface and where the buttons are and all that. Which
Yeah.
you sit in front of the TV and figure all that out before you go out and shoot, and
Yeah.
you're good to go. So I'm going to throw it back to you. Last words. You got this amazing Peak Design grant. You're among the batch of the first people. They said they've already committed to doing this again at some point in the future. But
Amazing.
you were the first. You were in the first batch out of thousands of applicants. Anything that you'd like to say to Peak Design about this, or Elle for giving them the germ of the idea to run with? What are the final words from Justin?
Absolutely. I thought that the program overall was just an incredible movement, and especially for this time specifically, where I'm seeing a lot of people come to different brands Instagram feeds and asking people, where they sit with things. And I thought that they did a phenomenal job with this program. And it was massive. Definitely going back to what I put in my essay, the biggest thing that anyone can have is hope. And so even if I didn't win, I think that it's cool just to, be able to put my name out there. And luckily I was one of the people that got picked. And I definitely want to say thank you, to everyone there. And it really meant a lot to me when they said that they made sure to carve out extra time and that they put up their own money to make sure that I got in there for that. I didn't take that lightly. I felt that was something really special to me that really showed how much they really care about what's going on here. And I was super pleased with the turnout. So I can't thank them enough. I look forward to using this gear. And like I said, I've been a fan, but this just, this definitely made me, I don't know how much more of a fan of the brand I could be, but definitely, created that for me. And it has also allowed me to connect with some other creators. I had a few people reach out to me, DM congratulating me, who also had brilliant work. And I made sure to, follow them back and say, hey, if you're ever in New York, let's get a coffee, or let's, whenever that's a thing. But it was just great to have this new community, because I think that's what we all really want, is just a place to have people that share the same passion as we do. And in this program specifically, I thought it was really special to also find some other people who might have some similar backgrounds as you, and we can kind of do a kind of come together moment to put ourselves out there and show our work and on a high level as well. So I thought that was great, but it was an amazing experience.
Awesome. Congratulations again. I'm looking forward to seeing what you do with all this stuff. So we'll have to touch base again in the future, once, maybe 6 months down the line,
sure.
And see where things are and what you've been able to create. If people, want to connect with you, see the work that you do, or, just, like you said, reach out to have a coffee with you, what's a good place for them to reach out to?
The best place to find me on is Instagram. It's just, Justin_Sisson, and that's SISSON. And then, my website, which is also just first name, last name.com. So JustinSisson.com. That's where all of my portfolio work is. I encourage everyone to, reach out if you have any questions, or if you want to share, if you want to get a coffee sometime. I think this is a great place to create this community, and hopefully these things that happen here online are just the starting point for the things that we could do in the future in person and take it further. So I'm really excited to see what Peak Design does moving forward. And it's been such a pleasure to be here.
Love it. All right. Well, cool. Well, Justin, thank you so much for doing this, taking the time.
Thank you.
And like I said, I'll reach out in a little while, and, we'll see what's what. We'll see what you created with that mountain of gear. I know probably right now you're, watching the doorstep for the gear to show up. So you can get started with all this. So cool, Absolutely. Man. Well, thank you. Thank you for doing this, and congratulations, and we'll be in touch. Have a good one.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
This is Twitter.